Hello, hello, hello there. Welcome to this channel, the US Diaspora Dugoda News. My name is Emily and I am your host, the one and only on this channel. We might have some guest speakers someday, but for now, I am going to be your host, your presenter, your one and only. And so you're very much welcome because I want to keep it lively. I want to keep it going. I want to give you the information that you need to be enlightened about your journey to the US. So, where do we start from? Let us start from the very, very beginning. The very, very beginning. Well, like I said, my name is Emily and I go by M, sometimes Emmy, sometimes Emma. Your choice. Your choice. It's up to you. Uh, I do have other nicknames, but those ones belong to the ghettos where I grew up. So I'm not going to tell you. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But please don't share. Don't share. I do have other nicknames though. Anyway, the very beginning. So I am from East Landos, Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. East Landos is where I grew up, in particular, Umo 1. That's where I grew up. Wasn't born there, I was born in Shags, but I came to Nai during my very early primary. I started schooling class 1 in Donholm Primary School. And I schooled throughout my entire life in Nairobi. But I'm going to tell you about a story. You know, when you have finished high school, shortly after, everybody thinks you're marriage age. And indeed, you probably are. And what happened one time is that I got a call from a dear loving auntie of mine. She was in Kenya in another city, Nakuru, and she told me that there is somebody who wants to see me. And she didn't, you know how people are in Kenya, they don't put it straight, they don't just lay it out, but I could understand from the way she talked, I could understand that he's a guy that was interested in meeting me. And so I had to try to figure it out, but that's what I understood. So, long story short, I had to meet up with this guy, and I didn't know much about him, but I came to learn that he was coming from the US. He had come from the US to Kenya to visit. And he had come not only to visit, but to also look for a wife. So, in other words, my auntie was, as the culture is, a little embarrassed about telling me that this guy is interested in finding a wife and I am a potential, basically. Anyway, I met up with this guy. It was because of scheduling issues, I had to work. I was working overnight, and during the day, I was sleeping, and I don't know his schedule either. But long story short, it just happened that we had to meet up in the evening on my way to work. And so we met up at the stage where I used to take a matatu to, to work. So we met at the stage, and he had a vehicle and he was with his sister. And so when we met up at the stage, surprise, surprise, surprise. The first surprise was the guy's size. The guy's size. You know, when you're in Kenya, maybe nowadays people are a little, uh, fat, a little bigger. But at that time, it was a surprise to me. I mean, I was young and I really didn't expect someone young because I expected him to be roughly around my age. I didn't expect someone roughly around my age to be that size. He was like a big teddy bear. He was like a big teddy bear. I'm not kidding you, teddy bear, big teddy bear. So anyway, he got out, and that was my first shock. So I'm like, oops, of course I didn't say it, but I was surprised internally, like big teddy bear. I don't know what everybody in Kenya thinks of big fat guys, but that was my first impression. Second shock, he gave me a hug. How do you hug a stranger? I guess maybe in the US it's kind of common practice, and I've come to learn it's fairly common practice. But at that time, I was still in Kenya, and it's like you don't really hug someone, especially of the opposite sex, when you don't you're not very familiar, you're not close, you're not dating. It's like it's like almost taboo, it's like almost taboo. And he gave me a hug, like that's how he was saying hi to me. So I was shocked internally. I never said anything, but I was shocked. And I want to say I was a little embarrassed, but I was also kind of put off by it, because I felt like he's already trying to win my affection by giving me a hug. And I'm like, why would he try to win my affection when I'm not there? I just met you, I don't know anything about you. Anyway, long story short, I was rushing to work, I didn't want to get late, so I ended up hitching a ride with him and his sister. And we talked on my way to work as he was driving along the traffic, and we just happened to talk. We talked, just trying to get to know one another. There's nothing you can talk with a stranger when you really don't know each other, especially when you understand what they're trying to do. And I'm a lady, I mean, as a lady, what do you say to such a guy? There was really nothing to talk about except, what's your name, where you come from, what's going on. And all I remember, and this ticked me off, number three, is that he was kept bragging about the US and talking a lot, small talk. I think people in the US, they feel like they have to talk. They can't be in much silence, but for us, or at least where I grew up, you couldn't be two people and you're walking someplace, or you are sitting in the same vehicle and nobody's talking to each other, and you understand that that's normal, that's pretty normal. But people in the US, sometimes they feel like that's let me just break off and and share a story about prayer. This is totally unrelated, but I'm trying to show you how it is like silence is a little uncomfortable for some people, especially in the US. I was in this prayer group with this lady, white lady, and we were praying, and we got somewhere, and we had said the instructions were we can keep quiet in the middle of prayer and listen to the voice of God, and even wait for the next sentence in prayer. You don't have to just go while you're praying. So what did I do? We decided to be quiet in prayer, and we didn't even keep quiet for 2 seconds. She's like, who's saying what? She's like interrupting prayer and everything. It was kind of funny, but also like, I'm like, oh my goodness, these people, they can't take silence. They're so used to just talking until they can't take silence, even when it's communicated that, let's have some silence. And maybe that's where the moment of silence thing stems from. I don't know, I'm just thinking about it now. Maybe that's where it stems from, because I mean, you have to have some kind of respect, I guess, to be silent for 2 minutes in the midst of people. But where I come from, that's culturally acceptable. It's okay. Like, nobody has beef on you because you kept quiet. Well, anyway, the guy was talking, and he was talking about the US and telling me things about the US. Of course, you're kind of interested, but at the same time, it's like you can't relate. Anyway, we got to the city center, and I got pissed. I don't know, this is piece number what, I've already forgotten, because he was looking at all the buildings in the city center. He was looking at them, and he was saying, oh my goodness, they look like they're gonna fall the next minute. They look like so many years later they haven't fallen, but according to him, they were gonna fall. They look like, and I'm like, this is your country. Why are you degrading it? Like, why are you talking like that? As if you never grew up here. Haven't you ever seen these buildings before? You're talking like it's your first. I was so pissed internally, but I never said anything. Anyway, he dropped me at work, and I was a temp at that job. And because I was a temp, I'd only worked there for like 6 months. So when he dropped me, I was a little late because of the whole shenanigans that were going on before. So when he dropped me there, I met my coworkers at the gate. They were already leaving. Long story short, we were told, don't come back again. There is no job for you. And so we had to go back home. So I had the guy drop me at the city center. He took my number and he said he was going to call me, to let me know either way, you know. So anyway, I went home and um, I waited for his call. He never called. Um, he never said anything. I think later on I came to hear either from my auntie or from somebody that he had another lady in another city that he was going to see. And so my conclusion was that maybe he took that lady over me. But anyway, that's it. I wasn't really interested anyway. And for me, I was worried, well, he's in the US, I'm in Kenya, how is it gonna work and all of that. Those were the kinds of things I was thinking about. But I also did not like him because I had my own things that about the person that I would have liked, and then he ticked me off with all those other things because maybe if he would have came off a little different, maybe I would have been interested. But anyway, that's it about that. We will pick up the story somewhere, so keep following. We'll pick it up. We'll pick it up. I promise you. But that came there and went. So I missed my opportunity to go to the US just like that. I guess he was looking for a wife who he could take to the US. So, I mean, I missed it like that. I was young and beautiful. I don't know what he thought about me. He never shared. I don't know if I pissed him off too. That could be possible. It doesn't matter to me, but it's okay. It's okay. That you know, let it be gone. Okay, let it be gone. I wasn't hurt or anything because I had not invested my heart or anything in it. So I was. It just went away like that. Anyway, fast forward. I don't remember how much later, but probably 6 months, less than a year later, I got my I-20 to go to the US. And as you know, there are several ways that you can go to the US. You can go through school as an F1, on an F1 visa as a student. You can go as a visitor. You can go as a student's wife. I mean, that's a whole other video that I'm not going to talk about today. But if you want me to share such information, I can give you such information. So just leave your comments down below. But I'm not going to talk about it today. Today, I'm just sharing something totally different. So anyway, I got my I-20 and I knew that I need to process now to go to the US. So I processed what was needed and planned to go to the embassy. And when you go to the embassy, you know that you need stuff. That's a whole other video that I'm not going to talk about today. Again, if you need such a video, let me know and by dropping down your comments, and I will provide for you the information. Otherwise, I went to the embassy, and much to my surprise, I got my visa. I got my visa to the US, and I was so excited, as you can imagine. I came home, and the day that I got my visa was a few days to the opening of the school. You know, I was coming as a student, so the day that I got it, like less than a week to the opening of my school. And now, between doing the shopping that is needed and collecting the things that you need, and you're going to the US, you don't know how long you're gonna stay. You need to pack up your stuff at home, like leave it in a way that it's not inconveniencing your siblings, because we shared a room. And also, get rid of junk because it's just taking up space, and various things that you just need to do to get organized so you can go, and then get, of course, the important things, and the less important things, deal with it. So I did not have much time to do all of that, but I had to do it anyway, so I had to squeeze in everything. And in the middle of it, I also didn't have money for the ticket. I didn't have money for the ticket. So I wasn't actually sure that I was going to come to the US, because even though I had the visa, my dad did not have money for the ticket. And so I got stuck there, not knowing what to do, what to go. But I started preparing as if like someone who's going. At some point, I think I gave up. And as I'm giving up, I got a call from my relative who said that he has the way to take me to the US. Um, and so and before I say that, I think my dad put up no, that was after. But anyway, my uncle had managed to gather some funds, and we went to the city center, to the booking office. We booked my ticket to the US, and after we booked my ticket to the US, I'm telling you, we booked it the same day that I was flying. So it's like when I left home in the morning to go meet my uncle, I didn't know that I was going to get my ticket to the US. So I went and got the ticket, and by noonish or so, I have the ticket, and I know that I need to come and pack up because the flight is tonight. Yeah, all to the same night. You know, I needed to do shopping in town to get a few things, as you know. And my relatives in the US had called to say, oh, hey, it's winter over here. Make sure she comes with a warm jacket. So we had to spend a lot of time in the city center trying to find the warmest jacket we could find. And we went from shop to shop to store, store to store, and there wasn't any. Eventually we found something that looked like a warm jacket, and we went for it just to keep, to just settle that thing and just go get ready. So we got that, and I got me a sweater, fancy sweater from one of the high-end shops in town. I mean, it was pricey. We were not really looking for anything high-end or classic or anything like that. It's just that we just was looking for something warm, and eventually, you get tired when you're rushing for time, you're rushing for there's so many things that need to be done. So we had to settle, for that and take it. So, and then besides, I had not done my hair, and if you know anything about coming to the US, there's nobody to do your hair over here. Well, there is, but you're gonna pay out of your nose. And who wants to do that, especially when you have an opportunity in Kenya to do your hair, and come here with hair already done? So I had to do my hair. So by the time I'm getting to Umo, where I grew up, where my home was, it was already late. It was already almost 6 o'clock, and I had to go to the salon to get my hair done, and I got it done. And oh my goodness, that was the worst hairstyle ever. Oh my God, I don't even want to remember. It was the worst hairstyle ever. Of course, I didn't tell the lady I was going to the US, but I don't know. I had never ever had my hair done so poorly. She did a terrible job. I mean, it was a wig. Sorry, a weave. It was a weave, and she just cut like a partition right here, and then she weaved it on this side and this side, and then you could see I mean, it was just ugly. It was ugly. And guess what? She didn't have me look through the mirror for some reason. And then when she was done, she flipped me over so I could see myself, and she was already done. I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It was terrible. Terrible hairstyle. I looked terrible. I mean, I looked terrible, horrible. I was embarrassed. But looking at the time was so much gone. There was no time to argue with her. I just paid her and left because I had to get home. I had to shower. I had to eat. And I had to get to the airport. And, like the bits and pieces were not even together, had not even been done packing. So, and I didn't want to miss that opportunity. So I just rushed home looking ugly as ever. And I did what I had to do, which is shower, which is put my suitcase together, put my clothes together. I had relatives waiting, family members waiting to bid me bye. They were already there. And it's like, man, that commotion, there is a commotion. Everybody wants to see you. They want to say bye. You're trying to rush. You need to dress up. You need to make sure you have your passport. Some have already even opened your bag that contained the passport. They took it out and looked at it. It could get lost on your way to the airport. It was crazy. It was crazy. I couldn't even eat. My appetite just went away. Um, because it was too much of a commotion and too much going on. I just couldn't even eat. So I barely tasted the food and I just felt like I'm full. And so, anyway, they had to take me to the airport. Um, so when we got to the airport, um, fortunately, I mean, it's a long trip. Is a new place you're going, a new country, and you don't know where to start, where to end. So I'm saying fortunately because it's really fortunately. My dad, well, of course, we had the family members there, but my dad happened to see my one of my cousins. This cousin of mine had come from the US to visit Kenya, and now when we were meeting, he's on his way back to the US. And so my dad knew him, but I didn't know him. But I know his family in my shags, in the rural area where my dad comes from. I know his family. I know, let me say, I know him by the family name. So I know his grandfather and I know that family name. Um, so when my dad told me that he is from there, I was able to know who he is. So he told me this is your cousin and his name, he's from this family and he's actually going the same place you're going. So he's going to Minneapolis. So as you're going, he can guide you, can lead you to make sure you get there safe, which was also good because the long journey, the it's when it's your first time take a flight and you're going to a foreign country and you're doing connections. Sometimes you need someone to guide you and to lead you because if that doesn't happen, you might end up missing the flight because you delayed at the terminal or you didn't know you were supposed to get there, and then they are calling your name because they know you are in the terminal somewhere, but you're not in the plane, and then you end up missing and all of that thing that all of those things that could go wrong. So anyway, long story short is I got on the flight with my cousin, and now we are headed to the US. We are headed to the US. So, um, should I stop here? Um, or well, let me take you all the way to the US. Let me take you all the way to the US. Anyway, so we got in the flight, and once the flight is mid-air, if you know something about that, they serve you food. But me, I was embarrassed. I didn't want to eat. So I fell asleep right away when I saw the food. I just fell asleep because I was like, I don't have no money to pay. I don't have money to pay. Like, I don't, I thought that people pay extra. It's only when my cousin came, we didn't sit together. I thought we were going to sit together, and I thought that he was going to make every effort so that we can sit together because I didn't understand. But when we got in, he used a different aisle and went to his seat, and I sat in a different seat. And okay, that was it. Because for me, I thought, okay, it's like a matatu. You know how a matatu you get in, and because you're with someone, you're going to sit with them and talk all the way. So that's what I thought. But now we got in, and he used a different aisle to go sit in his chair, and I had to go sit in my chair in a different place, and so we were in different places, and we went like that. But fortunately, after I think I missed the first meal, um, he came at some point and he told me, "Oh, you can eat the meals they included in the ticket. You already paid for it, so don't worry about it." So I had to eat. I after that. Otherwise, I would have I would have starved. Can you imagine taking two 16-hour flights um, to the US? Sorry, I burst my own bubble, but it's all right. But can you imagine taking you get it when we get there? Can you imagine taking two 16-hour flights and not eating? And remember, I didn't eat very well from home. I would have arrived to the US skinny like a stick. I could have arrived skinny like a stick after not eating for like more than 24 hours, and the previous, maybe 36 hours, I would say, because the previous day I was so busy. I don't think I even ate in town. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the time, and all of that. So, anyway, so I ate eventually, and we got to the first terminal. My connection was in Amsterdam, and I had to get off there and take the next flight. But before taking the next flight, there was a 4-hour layover. And so, with my cousin, he was able to guide me from the gate that I got off the first flight all the way to my terminal, where I would get on the second flight now that would take me to the US. All right, 4 hour layover. So sat there, lay there, and my cousin, I thought he would stick there with me all the time so we can talk, but he really didn't. He really didn't. Um, he really didn't. And so what happened is, you know, he went his way and I waited there. He told me to wait there though, and he went his way, and eventually he came back like right before getting the flight, and he asked me a few questions. Where are you going to leave? Where are you going to stay when you get to the US? And it's funny, I didn't know. Can you imagine that you're going to a foreign country and you don't know where you're going to stay? I forget about the embassy. I know the embassy, they ask you all these questions, but they didn't ask me all those questions. And because they didn't, thank God they didn't ask me, because if they would have asked me, I would have failed. I would have failed terribly. They didn't ask me all those questions. When you go to the US embassy, you have to know where you're going to stay. Imagine me, I didn't know where to stay. I did not know where to stay. So he was asking me, so where are you going to leave when you? So I thought that I was going to leave in school. So I told him, I don't know. I think in school. He said, you can't live in school. It's too expensive. Um, I said, well, then I could leave. I said, I have, because the guy who had sent me the I-20 for school, we like, he was my neighbor, and I didn't know him very well. I'd met him like once, but I didn't know him very well. So I wasn't sure if he was going to accommodate me. um and like, yeah, I didn't know much. I didn't even know where he lived. So what to do now? What to do? So what did I do? I told I said, well, I have my uncle. um his name is so and so, and he lives in Texas. And he said, oh, you're going to Minneapolis. Texas is another state. It's so far away. He can't accommodate you. Where is your school? In Minneapolis. Oh, well, then you can't live in Texas. Can you imagine? I was thinking like Texas is like next door. Like, I was just thinking it's right there. I'm telling you, the level of ignorance. Oh my goodness. All right. So anyway, I told him about the guy who told me the I-20, and he told me, oh, that guy, he's married, and he lives with he was married to a white lady, and he lives with her. And so he didn't really say it, but he sort of implied that it might not be possible to live there. So he said, the best option would be um, the family, and he referred me to the family, which is my uncle who bought me the ticket. His wife was here, and so his sorry, my uncle bought me the ticket. His sisters, her sisters, her one of her sisters was here, and so my cousin told me he knows that sister, and he knows where she lives, and he knows the family where she lives. And he said most likely that's where I would stay, and most likely and ideally that would be the best place for me to live, because it's with a family and they'll help me, etc., etc. So anyway, so that's how it went, and I got on the second flight, and oh my goodness, the second flight, let me tell you, my ticket said I'm leaving Amsterdam 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm arriving in Minneapolis at 12 o'clock in the evening. That's what my ticket said, in the afternoon. That's what my ticket said. So 10 to 2, to 12. That's how many hours? 2 hours. 2 hours. We got on the flight, and you expect the plane to start descending close to the end of the 2 hours, and there was no descending, and it was still up about 10,000 feet up. It was still going. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what is going on here? So I waited for it to descend. 3 hours later, it's not descending. 4 hours later, it's not descending. About after 4 hours, I was like, there's something, it's like there's something wrong. There's something wrong. So I asked my seatmate in the plane, I said, um, aren't we supposed to have arrived? And I don't remember if it was a he or a she, but let's assume it was a he. He said, oh no, don't you know the flight was 8 hours? I say, no, my ticket said it was from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that's 2 hours. He said, no, because of, what is it called? You're crossing time, you're changing time. That's how in Kenya, the time is different from the one in the US. So because you're changing time, you're going to be losing or gaining when you are up in the air and crossing, those continents. So because I was crossing from Africa to the US, you know, I was there was a time difference. So uh the 2 hours was really, guess what? 8 hours. 8 hours, y'all. 8 hours. So you can imagine, after 2 hours, I'm getting antsy in my seat, and then I have to sit 8 hours. 8 more hours. Can you imagine that? I sat for a whole 8 hours. I was so tired in that flight. I was so tired. The second flight was the worst. Of course, I ate, but like, I was just so tired. I got up, walked back and forth, trying to recover the time. But I'm telling you, the plane wasn't moving. It's like it wasn't moving. And I saw people go to the bathroom, to the toilet. In Kenya, we say toilet, to the toilet, and they would stay there for hours. And to me, that was odd. I'm like, why are they staying, you know, so long? I guess maybe they were spending time, just trying to, let the time go by faster. But maybe it's habitual, as I've also come to learn. But I don't even understand, because those toilets are so small. They're so small. Um, like, skinny as I was, it was hard to fit in. So I don't know how anybody would spend time in there when you don't really fit in there properly. Anyway, finally, we landed in the mighty US. Finally, after 8 hours, we eventually landed in the US, and we'll pick up from there. We'll pick up from there the next time. So please, I don't mean to leave you in suspense, but I just don't want to make it too long today. But we'll pick up from there once I land in the US. What happened? How did that go? So let us pick up from there the next time. Thank you so much for staying along with me. Again, I'm your host, M, and this is the US Diaspora Shenanigans channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and bye bye. Till the next time.